Good afternoon. We're the team from the University of St. Thomas for the CFAMN Research Challenge, and today we'll be presenting on vascular solutions. Just a quick executive summary for you guys. Vascular Solutions is a medical device company headquartered in Maple Grove, Minnesota. They specialize in niche products primarily used for peripheral and coronary vascular procedures. Just in December, they were acquired by Teleflex for $56 a share. After a thorough analysis and valuation process, we arrived at a target price of $48.20. Putting this together, we're looking at our conclusion is that is an implicit premium for the shareholders of 16.2%. Just some recent news. In October, Vascular Solutions entered a collaborative deal with the U.S. Army to develop a freeze-dried plasma product called RePlas, which we'll get into more later, but that will be a key driver for them moving forward. Like I said, on December 16th, they were acquired by Teleflex, and then earlier this month, on February 1st, there was actually a class action lawsuit started by shareholders who thought the purchase price was too low.
So like we mentioned, Vascular Solutions is an American medical device company. They operate nationally through a roughly 100-person sales force team and internationally through an independent distributor network. Vascular Solutions targets products with revenues of roughly $50 million. This is a space where the bigger players typically don't like to associate themselves with, and this has been a really big part of their business strategy thus far. A few of these products are Turnpike and Guideliner, which have been strong growth drivers for Vascular Solutions in the past. Additionally, Vascular Solutions is focused on radial access products, a trend that has been large in Europe in the past and has been growing significantly in the United States. Another unique and potential high growth opportunity for Vascular Solutions is their vein catheter reprocessing service. This is an industry that we'll talk about in a little bit. And lastly, like we had just mentioned, we see RePlas as being a large driver for Vascular Solutions going forward.
Vascular Solutions is a relatively small player in the larger cardiovascular medical device industry. The North American region is about roughly 42% of a $65 billion region globally, and that comes to about 27.5 million. This leaves a relative market share of just under 1% for Vascular Solutions. While the U.S. region is expected to experience growth in the future, the Asia Pacific region is expected to experience the highest growth at 9.6%. While Vascular Solutions has some interests in Japan, China is one of the leading drivers of this growth. Growth is driven in the overall industry by disease incidence rate, demographic changes, and hospital adoption rates. For example, by 2060, the number of individuals 65 and over are expected to double, accounting for 24% of the U.S. population. They also operate in the reprocessed medical device industry. In this space, providers take up medical device and supplies to reprocess them for reuse by hospitals. The North American market is valued at $570 million, just over that $1 billion industry. It is expected to grow at about 20% in the coming years. Of the industry, the cardiovascular space is about 55%, and this is where Vascular Solutions operates. Growth in this industry is driven by cost containment pressures and the rising healthcare costs and positive regulatory environments where companies can pursue these alternatives.
All right, so to start our evaluation process, we started with a top-line revenue forecast for all of their products. So a few highlights here. We start out with Guideliner, which is their top product. It's kind of been their bread and butter in the past few years, and that's the big light blue bars on the screen there. And we forecasted them for that product to grow at slow, but also still remain to be one of their top products. As we mentioned, radial access is becoming more and more of the trend, and they also have a product that satisfies that. So as that, we forecasted a pretty significant revenue growth for that product as well. Similar story with their Turnpike product, which is one of their newer, more successful products. That's the gray bar there. Similar story, it's a new product, newer in its product life cycle. So again, we forecasted a pretty significant growth for that. But the big one is RePlas, which is the yellow, which we anticipate to gain approval in 2019, and then in 3 years of really high growth, becoming one of their top selling products in their portfolio. We also forecasted for other, which just accounts for some new products coming in and some dipping out. So looking at margins, we started with gross margin. How we did that, we forecasted it pretty flat, about 65% moving forward. And this is kind of a combination of an offset of two different things. The first being replas being a little bit more expensive to make and produce, but offset by as they grow, they'll become more efficient. Operating margins, we forecasted to grow pretty significantly moving forward. That's mainly because replas has little to no SG&A expense, and also because with that, they can better utilize their sales force. So this is just kind of a summary of that. The blue line is revenue and the orange is SG&A expense, which will also increase as they grow.
To review our valuation thesis, again, Vascular Solutions is a small company working in niche space, primarily with products under $50 million of annual revenue. They do have strong sales growth, and they do have the opportunity to continue utilizing their sales force better to improve margins. In the past, they do have a good R&D track record, which is shown with some of their key products, such as Guideliner, Turnpike, and now Replas, which we expect to be approved in 2019. With that being said, there are heavy risks that do weigh on our valuation and then some non-financial risks that we will get to later. Again, with the improving revenue growth and improving margins, free cash flow will grow at a steady pace, and we discount that back at the cost of equity of 8.9% for Vascular. There is no debt for Vascular, and there's no projections for debt being needed in the future. With that, our base case scenario, or that gives our base case scenario, a target price of $49.92. And then we also did a bull and bear scenario looking at over or under performance to our projections. With that, we did a comparable analysis looking at similar sized companies in the medical device space, and also with a few that are slightly larger but are direct competitors to Vascular Solutions. On the chart on the left, we looked at our price earnings, price sales, and EV/EBITDA multiples. And Vascular Solutions is the orange bar on the left with the industry average, or the comparable average, blue bar on the left. Vascular Solutions is the top 2 or 3 in each of these categories for valuation. If we bring Vascular Solutions down to the valuation down to the average, we do get a price target of $44.21. To put that in context, looking at the historical valuation of Vascular Solutions, we do see that $56 is at a premium valuation to not only the history of Vascular Solutions, but also to the comparables in the industry. And to support our analysis, we also did a Monte Carlo simulation utilizing a distribution on each annual sales growth for our top 8 products, and then also the other category. That gives us a range from $35 up to $70, with a mean value of just under $51 per share. 82% of the simulations do fall under the $56 per share price, which does support our valuation of $56 is at a premium to their intrinsic value.
So moving on to risks, as we know, they operate in very niche markets, but as they grow, they're going to pass industry thresholds that kind of attract the bigger guys, so there's that risk there. And also as the products grow, there's risk in the future that there's going to be pressure on management to invest in high growth opportunities to continue that top line growth. Also litigation risk. In the past few years, they've paid about $25 million protecting one of their relatively insignificant revenue generators. And our biggest risk is it's a non-financial risk. It has to do with the CEO. He's been very public about how he feels about litigation, and he's thinking about exiting Vascular Solutions and also just the industry as a whole. So there's that risk that he might not even be with the company. So just to recap, they've been very successful in their niche markets. They have good growth prospects. In particular, they have an opportunity to be the first mover in the freeze-dried plasma industry. But Vascular Solutions also has a number of non-financial and financial risks. So we think that the price of $56 is very fair. Thank you, and we'd like to open for questions.
Yeah, could you just go through for me how you looked at the growth rate of the company overall, the top line revenue came up with that overall growth rate that you put into calculating this kind of cash flow?
Yeah, so we actually started with the top 8 products that are currently in their portfolio, looking at firstly the management forecast, and then looking at the industry prospects, and then also where the products are in the life cycle to get a growth rate for the top products, and then within the other category, which is the other 95 or so products, we just use a steady growth rate for them, assuming R&D will bring in some products, that some products also will go out of their life cycle.
And my question is about coming to that number in terms of a total addressable market. What was your source for the addressable market?
So in the industry, we looked at various industry reports. Would you like a specific name or?
I'm sorry, what do you mean by that?
Oh, well, I mean like reports.
Brokerage reports?
Grand View Research was one of our main research reports.
I see that you get operating margins up to 29%. How did you come up with that level of operating?
I think it is mostly due to, as I mentioned, with the reclass product, it requires very little SG&A, if any, because it's a contracted product with the U.S. Army. That was kind of the main driver behind that. And then also, with that freed up SG&A, it allows the sales force to be better utilized and used for other purposes.
And to go along with that, management, within the management discussion, they did specify that the 29% is their next target for operating margins. And so there was actually, like Rob said, 2 aspects to that, with the reclass, improving that, and also as they grow, they can get better utilization of their sales force for sales per sales person. But the 29% is part of the management discussion.
I wanted to ask a question about the valuation of the transaction in the sense of you looked at a peer group of public companies, but did you go and look at other transactions in this space and multiples that were paid as whether it's a multiple of EBITDA or revenue? And if so, why not?
We did try and look at some of them, some comparable transactions, but we didn't find any that were comparable to the size of Vascular Solutions and what they do within the space. So we did have trouble finding true comparables in the non-public space for that.
But comparables in the public space, because there have been quite a few transactions in this space. And arguably, that's a better comparison than looking at a public peer group, because now there's a bid on the offer, there's an offer on the table for the company. And so I would say that maybe a more accurate way would be to go look at companies that have been bought out and transaction prices have been occurred.
Nice job on your presentation. I had a quick question on the intrinsic value you came up with, but I think it was $48 or $49, and yet Teleflex was willing to pay $56, 20+% premium to your target. If you were presenting to Teleflex management with your analysis, what would be the drivers to get to the 56? Would it be cost synergies? Would it be leveraging the sales force?
Yeah.
Or would you just tell Teleflex that they overpaid and that Vascular did a good job being self-centered?
For that question, for Teleflex, there's a lot of cost synergies with utilizing Salesforce of Vascular Solutions, and then also, as we mentioned, for international, there's a lot of international growth that Vascular Solutions, or Vascular has came out and said that they, as a standalone, they were only going to keep it about 20% of their revenue, and so there's a lot of growth opportunities within a larger company to expand worldwide, and also to better utilize the relationships with the doctors to produce further growth within all their products.
I've got a product obsolescence question. It's a rapidly changing industry, always new innovations. R&D is important. Is there a product or product line that you worry most about with those high growth assumptions?
I think the main risk is reclass, since it hasn't been approved by the FDA yet, and that is a large part of their growth, 2019 through 2021, so that's the largest risk. To that point, though, with Guideliner and also with Turnpike, they've done a good job with updating parts of the product to go with the changes in the industry, and also to increase or extend their patents on those products. So they do have a R&D track record with some of their main products to be able to do that.
And also the meat processing industry has really proven to be very stable, kind of stabilizing for them, which I think mitigates some of the risks within individual products as well.
And also building off that, there's some certain industry thresholds that other companies, they don't want to enter and get into that space unless it's financially worth it. So we think we're going to see some of those products hit that 50 million per year threshold. So we're going to see, and we're not quite sure what's going to happen yet, but we think that that's definitely a risk that some of the bigger guys are going to get in.
So I wanted to ask a question about Howard Group and his battle with, there was a pretty public battle that he had with somebody that basically there was a whistleblower suit, and you don't want to be a medical products company that gets in trouble with the FDA. And so how did you, and I'm trying to remember, I think that got dismissed before you went out to go see him. How do you handicap that in terms of one of the risks as you were going forward, assuming this company was continuing to be public?
Sure. Well, we think about it in a couple ways. The first is just on the employee side, seeing your CEO make these comments that he doesn't want to work for the company anymore, and he's expressed that pretty explicitly. He's been on a number of podcasts and been in the paper, and we just think that the board decided to sell the company because without this guy, I mean, he's the founder. He's been there for 20 years, so we think that potentially the future growth prospects could be derailed, and we think that's definitely the biggest risk that we came up with.
So is that the reason that you think they decided to sell the company, because Howard made these public statements about not wanting to be CEO anymore?
Yes.
Yeah, he was also on the slide. We can go back, but there was also a book, and it was titled, Battle over the past 5 years. Yeah, so he's been all over the public about this, and there's also a risk that they're going to see further litigation because he's kind of making everything public and kind of blaming the Department of Justice for certain things. So,
and to that point, in one of the public announcements where he did say that he doesn't want to take on a personal risk of being a CEO in the medical device space. The board did also, I don't have the quote on me, but did express that with him wanting to leave being the founder and the CEO, that does create a lot of uncertainty for the future of Vascular Solutions as a whole and the direction that it's going to go. And so that is one of the reasons, it did say that was one of the reasons that they looked at, or that they would approve the sale to Teleflex.
This company looks like they do a lot of niche products. You guys look at their R&D spend and how efficient it is, what they're spending it on, and the products that they are developing. That to me seems like it's a pretty big growth driver for them. So I'm just interested in what you guys thought about that and what the projections are.
They are, for their R&D spending, is slightly high for the industry at about 12% of sales. And they do recognize that is slightly high when you look at compared to peers. But that is one of their drivers, is coming up with these new products. And so for our forecast, we did actually keep it at the 12% of all products minus reclass, since that is being developed with the Army.
Any kind of look at how efficient they are, though, and looking at the products developed over the the last few years versus how much R&D dollars are being spent? I mean, you guys get any sense for that?
Well, I could just touch on kind of the plasmid.
Sorry. Cut me off.